Imagine, for a second, having a best friend who is just so intensely, profoundly devoted to you that they basically consider you their entire universe.
Oh, wow.
Right. I mean, I want you to picture an attachment so deep that this friend literally mirrors your every single mood. Like if you wake up feeling energetic and happy, they are absolutely thrilled.
Totally feeding off your energy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you are stressed out about, say, an upcoming math test at school, they are pacing the room with you, feeling that exact same knot in their stomach.
Like they're experiencing your stress firsthand.
Yeah, they are your absolute shadow, tracking your every move with just this unwavering intensity. But there's a monumental catch to this relationship.
There always is, right?
You know it. This intensely devoted best friend completely, utterly panics the second you pick up your backpack and leave the house to go to school.
They don't just, feel a sense of longing because you're gone. It's way deeper than that. They experience a full-blown existential crisis.
Like the world is ending.
Literally. The moment that door clicks shut, their reality collapses.
And that intense, all-consuming devotion, coupled with that terrifying panic, is the reality of living with the Czechoslovakian Wolfdog.
It's a heavy reality, too.
It really is. So our mission today on this deep dive is to explore the fascinating, highly complex, and honestly sometimes very dark psychology of this incredible animal.
Which is just so mind-blowing when you get into it.
Right. So we've gathered a stack of sources, behavioral studies, veterinary insights, ethological research, breeder notes, and we're going to dissect what makes this dog's mind tick.
There's so much to unpack here.
So much. So to give you a roadmap of where we are heading, we are focusing on 3 core areas today. First, we are going to explore the dog's intense wild pack instinct.
The foundation of everything they are.
Exactly. Then we're going to look at the terrifying reality of their separation anxiety and the shocking destruction it causes.
Which is intense. We'll definitely get into that.
And finally, we will explore their extreme, lifelong loyalty to a single master alongside their deep ingrained suspicion of strangers.
What's fascinating here is that when you look at a Czechoslovakian Wolfdog, you're not merely looking at a pet that happens to, resemble something wild.
Right. It's not just a look.
Exactly. You are looking at a living, breathing mirror of ancient wild instincts that are actively trying to survive and navigate our very loud, modern, urban world.
It's like a clash of eras.
It is a daily collision between the ancient tundra and your modern living room.
Well, let's jump right into the core of their entire worldview, which is the pack instinct. Because the sources we're looking at are unequivocally clear on this.
Oh, crystal clear.
Like, a Czechoslovakian Wolfdog doesn't look at a human family, shrug, and think, well, cool, these are my owners.
Right, like they buy my kibble, they open the door to the yard.
Yeah, we are essentially roommates.
Yeah.
They do not think like that. They view your family as a literal, high-stakes wolf pack.
High stakes is the perfect way to phrase it.
They possess this genetic need, a drive that is thousands of years old, for a crystal-clear hierarchy. They need to know exactly who is in charge.
They need what the literature refers to as a super alpha.
A super alpha. I love that term.
It's very dramatic, but it's true. In a wild wolf pack, hierarchy is not about ego,
Right. It's not a status symbol.
No, it's not about an individual asserting dominance just to feel powerful or to bully the others. Hierarchy is a highly evolved, critical survival mechanism.
It keeps them alive.
Precisely. A pack relies on a confident, decisive leader to make split-second decisions about hunting, defending territory, and moving the pack away from danger.
Because if they don't have that.
If the leadership is weak, hesitant, or inconsistent, the pack doesn't just get annoyed. The pack starves, or they get killed by rivals.
Wow.
It is literally a matter of life and death. So when this dog looks at you, they are instinctively, constantly evaluating your leadership capabilities to ensure their own survival.
I like to think of this like a school group project.
Yeah.
And we've all been in this exact situation.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded group project.
Right. You get assigned a group of 4 students to work on a massive biology presentation. If no one in that group steps up to be the clear, confident leader.
The person who just assigns the tasks and sets the deadlines.
Exactly. The one who guides the vision. If nobody does that, what happens? The vacuum of leadership creates massive anxiety.
Everybody starts panicking.
Yeah, and eventually, the most intense, highly strung kid in the group gets incredibly frustrated and just takes over.
Because someone has to.
Right. But because they are doing it out of panic and frustration,
Yeah.
rather than a place of natural, calm leadership, the whole project usually descends into absolute chaos.
And everyone involved is completely miserable.
Exactly.
That is a perfect parallel. The Czechoslovakian Wolfdog operates on that exact same principle of a leadership vacuum.
And so they're the stressed kid in the group project.
Yes. If you, the human, are not a firm, fair, and incredibly consistent leader, if you don't embody that super alpha role, the dog will instinctively feel that terrifying void.
Their genetics just scream at them.
They scream that the pack is vulnerable, and so they will try to take over the household. And a dog attempting to run a modern human household is the definition of chaos.
And it must be incredibly stressful for the dog, right? Because we tend to anthropomorphize dogs and think, oh, a dominant dog is just being stubborn or wants to be the boss.
People assume it's arrogance.
Right. But they don't actually want to be in charge of a human house, do they?
Not at all. It is an unbearable psychological burden for them. Taking on the alpha role in an environment they fundamentally do not understand is incredibly taxing.
I mean, they don't get our world.
Exactly. It's a world of mail carriers, blaring televisions, ringing doorbells, and visiting neighbors. They don't want to be in charge of assessing every human who walks past your window.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. When humans fail to provide structure, the dog becomes hypervigilant, stressed, and often unmanageable.
Just purely because their brain is telling them that someone has to keep this family alive.
Right. And since the humans are failing at it, the dog feels like it has to bear the weight of the world.
Man, and this intense pack mentality really bleeds heavily into how they communicate, which is honestly one of the most mind-blowing things in these sources.
Their communication is on another level.
Yeah, they don't communicate like the dogs we are used to. If you take a standard dog like a beagle or a Labrador, their primary form of long-distance communication is barking.
They bark at everything.
They bark at a squirrel, they bark at the wind, they bark because they are excited. But the Czechoslovakian Wolfdog rarely barks in that repetitive standard canine way.
It's actually pretty rare for them.
The sources describe their communication as this incredibly rich, high-definition wolf language.
Well, if you think about the domestication process over thousands of years, it actually dulled down a significant portion of the complex communication that wolves utilize.
You kind of bred it out of them.
Exactly. Humans bred domestic dogs to bark to alert us to intruders or game. We favored the loud alarm bell over the subtle whisper.
But the wolfdog still has that whisper.
The Czechoslovakian Wolfdog retains that wild, intricate nuance. They communicate using microexpressions.
The ethological notes in our sources point out that they have highly distinct facial expressions, which is crazy to think about.
They really do. They have specialized control over their facial muscles, allowing them to arrange their features to look like they are smiling.
Or to clearly convey deep sadness or express sharp frustration.
It's a full-body broadcast.
Right.
Their ears, the exact angle of their tail posture, the microscopic tension in their shoulder muscles, the way they shift their weight.
Every little movement means something.
Every single millimeter of their physical being is constantly broadcasting a highly specific message to the rest of the pack.
It makes me think of trying to stream a 4K, ultra-high-definition movie, but you're trying to do it over an old 1990s dial-up internet connection.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
The bandwidth just isn't there. And that seems to be exactly what happens when a Czechoslovakian wolfdog tries to interact with a normal domesticated dog.
They just don't speak the same language.
One of the sources actually noted that they vastly prefer the company of their own breed, almost exclusively.
The communication breakdown between them and standard breeds is profound. The playstyle of a Czechoslovakian Wolfdog is nearly identical to that of wild wolves.
It's rough, right?
It is incredibly physical, rough, and involves a lot of neck-biting, body slamming, and highly specific, throaty vocalizations.
And a normal dog just freaks out.
Yeah, when a standard dog encounters this, they don't have the software to decode the 4K signal. They interpret this rough play and intense staring as an aggressive, lethal attack.
So they just panic.
Right. But when you observe two Czechoslovakian wolfdogs playing together, it's a completely different story. They look like they are engaged in a beautiful, synchronized, ancient dance.
Because they finally have someone who gets them.
They recognize their own kind because only their own kind possesses the bandwidth to understand their language.
Okay, so they are broadcasting in 4K, but here's what I found truly staggering in the reading. This high-definition communication doesn't just go outward from the dog.
No, it goes both ways.
It comes inward. They are taking in our signals constantly, analyzing our dial-up connection and seeing everything we are trying to
They
hide.
see right through us.
The sources really emphasize their extreme empathy. They don't just watch you when you are cooking dinner or doing your homework. They study you.
Let's look at the biological reason for this emotional mirroring because it makes perfect sense in context.
Okay, yeah.
In the wild, communication needs to be silent to be effective, especially when hunting or hiding from larger predators.
You can't just bark and give away your position.
Exactly. If one wolf at the edge of the pack senses danger and their muscles tense up, the rest of the pack needs to instantly feel that tension and prepare to flee or fight,
Without making a sound.
without a single whine or growl being made. Survival depends entirely on the pack operating as a single connected nervous system.
And they apply that to us.
The Czechoslovakian Wolfdog applies this survival mechanism directly to their human family. Think of them like highly sensitive tuning forks.
Oh, I like that. So if you strike a tuning fork of anxiety, the dog automatically starts vibrating at that exact same frequency.
Precisely. You don't have to say a word. If you come home from school and you are terrified about a failing grade or you had a massive fight with a friend, you might try to act normal.
You try to hide it.
But the dog reads the microtension in your jaw. They hear the slightly elevated speed of your breathing.
That is so wild.
They notice the subtle shift in your posture or the way your scent changes due to cortisol spikes.
And they absorb it entirely. Like, if you are stressed, the dog becomes highly restless.
Right, they start pacing the hallways, they might start whining.
And conversely, if you are unsure or hesitant in a situation, they read that weakness instantaneously.
Pick up on it right away.
Say you are walking your wolf dog down the street.
Yeah.
And you see a massive off-leash dog approaching.
A classic stressful situation.
If your heart rate spikes and you tighten your grip on the leash because you're nervous, your wolf dog feels that tension travel right down the nylon.
Yeah.
They assume you, the leader, are incapable of handling the incoming threat. So they feel forced to take the initiative to defend the pack.
This is exactly why the veterinarian training sources place such a heavy emphasis on the mental state of the owner.
You really have to have your act together.
To successfully own one of these dogs, you have to master your own internal emotional state. You cannot lie to this breed.
They are like biological polygraphs.
They are the ultimate biological lie detectors. You can put on a brave face, you can speak in a calm voice, but if your autonomic nervous system is firing in a state of panic, the dog knows you are terrified.
Wow. So we have this vivid picture of an animal that is intensely, almost psychically bonded to its human pack.
Bound to you by biology.
Right. It relies on you for its hierarchy, its emotional stability, its entire worldview. But eventually, you have to go to school.
Life happens.
You have to leave the house. If their survival is entirely predicated on knowing exactly where their pack is at all times, how do they process a biological entity, meaning you suddenly vanishing through a wooden door for 8 hours?
They don't process it well at all.
Oh, well.
In fact, they process it as an absolute catastrophe.
Which leads us into the darkest, most challenging reality of living with this breed, the terror of isolation.
To understand the severity of this, we have to ask, what does it actually mean for a wolf to be alone in the wild?
It's bad news.
Evolution has hardwired their brains to equate isolation with a literal death sentence. A lone wolf cannot hunt large prey efficiently.
They need the pack for that.
They cannot defend their territory against rival packs. They cannot survive the harsh realities of winter without the shared body heat and resources of the pack.
So basically, to be separated is to die.
Yes.
See, when you walk out that door for school, you know you are coming back at 3:15 p.m.
You understand the schedule.
Exactly. You know the dog has a bowl of water, a comfortable bed, maybe a chew toy. But the dog's brain doesn't understand the concept of school or work.
It doesn't comprehend a temporary absence.
When you lock that door, your dog isn't looking around thinking, man, I'm going to be so bored until they get back.
Their brain is firing the exact same alarm bells as a human who has just been dropped out of a helicopter into the middle of the ocean.
Oh, that sounds terrifying.
They are experiencing an acute existential threat. Their limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for fear and survival, just completely takes over.
A logic center shuts down.
Completely. The message is simple. The pack is gone. I am entirely unprotected. I am going to die.
Wow.
This triggers a massive, overwhelming panic response. We label it clinical separation anxiety, but for the dog, it is a fight for survival.
The sources go into clinical detail about the symptoms of this panic. And it's not just behavioral, right? It's intensely physiological.
It affects their entire body.
Let's break down exactly what happens to this animal when that existential panic sets in. First, there's the vocalization.
And we aren't talking about a dog whining at the window for 10 minutes.
No, the texts describe a continuous, far-carrying howling and singing that can last for hours on end without a single break.
The acoustics of a wolf howl are specifically designed by nature to travel for miles across dense forests or open tundras to locate a lost pack member.
So it's loud.
It is a piercing, high-decibel frequency. When a Czechoslovakian Wolfdog deploys the survival tool inside a modern apartment building, the sound penetrates walls, floors, and glass.
You're going to make some enemies.
You will profoundly disrupt the lives of every neighbor in a multi-block radius.
But the noise is just the tip of the iceberg, right? The destruction is where it becomes truly terrifying.
It's next-level destruction.
Because when people hear destructive dog, they usually picture a puppy that chewed up a television remote or tore a hole in a couch cushion.
Right, disruption born of boredom.
What the Czechoslovakian Wolfdog executes is a frantic, desperate prison break.
Because they view the front door not as a piece of architecture, but as the physical barrier keeping them from their missing pack.
It's in their way.
And therefore keeping them from survival.
The sources document them tearing off heavy wooden door frames with their teeth.
Just ripping them apart.
They will shatter windows to get out. They will literally dig through carpeting through the subfloor, trying to tunnel their way out of the room.
There are documented cases of them chewing right through heavy-gauge metal wire fences.
Wait, really? Metal fences?
Yes. They are driven by an absolute blinding frenzy, and their bodies are paying a massive toll while they do this.
I can imagine.
Their autonomic nervous system shifts entirely into the sympathetic state, that fight-or-flight response. This causes a cascade of physiological distress.
The sources note hypersalivation too.
Yes.
Which means they are drooling so heavily that you will come home to literal pools of saliva on the floor.
The extreme stress alters their glandular function. They also experience tachycardia, which is a dangerously racing, elevated heart rate.
Their heart is just pounding out of their chest.
Their pupils dilate entirely to let in more light to search for the pack, and their skeletal muscles experience severe continuous trembling due to all the adrenaline flooding their system.
And then there's the self-harm.
That's the hardest part to read about.
In their absolute terror to escape a crate or a confined room, they will bite down on metal bars so hard they break their own canine teeth.
Just out of sheer desperation.
They will lick their own paws, raw and bloody. The veterinary texts call it acrylic dermatitis, right? Just to self-soothe the maddening anxiety.
It's a coping mechanism for the panic.
And perhaps most distressing for an owner to come home to, a completely house-trained dog will urinate or defecate indoors.
Not because they forgot their training.
No, because the terror is so absolute they lose control of their bowels. The text even mentions coprophagia.
Where they consume their own feces.
Purely out of the severe neurological stress of the panic attack.
It is entirely stress-induced.
Okay, I have to stop here because we really need to talk about the human reaction to this.
Which is usually not great.
Let's put ourselves in the shoes of a high school student. You've had a long day at school, you walk through your front door, and your bedroom is unrecognizable.
That total disaster zone.
The door is splintered into a million pieces, your carpet is ripped down to the floorboards, there's blood on the door handle from where the dog hurt its mouth, and there's a puddle of urine on the floor.
It's a shocking scene to walk into.
The immediate visceral human instinct is going to be white-hot anger.
Yeah.
You are going to look at that dog and think, you are so mad at me for leaving you behind? You did this to punish me for going to school?
You take it personally?
Right. I need to yell at you right now so you know this behavior is unacceptable. If I punish them, they'll associate the destruction with being in trouble, right?
If we look at the cognitive capabilities of a dog, even one as intelligent as this, that assumption is the single most damaging mistake a human can make.
Oh, wow.
It is a fundamental psychological error to project complex human emotions like revenge, spite, or vindictiveness onto a canine. Dogs do not experience spite.
So they aren't getting back at us.
Not at all. Your wolf dog did not sit in your bedroom, look at your favorite pair of sneakers and think, they abandoned me for 8 hours, so I shall destroy their footwear to teach them a lesson.
Right, they aren't calculating supervillains plotting our downfall.
Exactly. The destruction is the chaotic byproduct of a severe medical panic attack.
It's medical.
Imagine a human being who suffers from severe claustrophobia getting trapped in a tiny, broken elevator.
Okay, yeah, that's a good analogy.
In their absolute terror, they start clawing at the metal doors, tearing their fingernails, trying to pry the doors apart to get oxygen.
They're just trying to survive.
When the elevator mechanic finally pries the doors open, would you scream at the terrified person for scratching the paint on the elevator?
Of course not. That would be incredibly cruel.
Precisely. If you yell at or punish a Czechoslovakian Wolfdog when you return home to a destroyed room, you are not teaching them that chewing the door is bad.
They don't make that connection.
No, their brain does not connect your current anger to an action they performed 3 hours ago.
So if punishment just pours gasoline on the fire, it seems like the only way out is to fundamentally change how their brain perceives the front door.
Because if you yell at them, you're just teaching them that your return is terrifying.
That's the tragic irony, isn't it?
It really is. The next time you leave for school, the dog isn't just terrified that their pack leader is gone. Now they are terrified that you are gone, and they are living in dread of the unpredictable, angry monster that is going to burst through the door at 3:15 p.m.
You are actively compounding their anxiety.
making it infinitely worse.
So how do you fix it? How do you rewire an ancient genetic panic response so you can actually leave your house to go to the grocery store or go to school?
The sources point to a highly structured process of behavioral modification called systematic desensitization.
Systematic desensitization.
Yes, you have to literally reshape the neural pathways in the dog's brain to prove that your departure does not equal a death sentence. And you do not start by leaving for an hour.
Right. You start on a micro scale.
You really do.
We're talking seconds.
Yeah, less than seconds. You start by breaking the triggers of departure. Dogs are masters of pattern recognition.
They watch everything we do.
They know that when you put on your shoes, pick up your backpack, and grab your keys, you are about to disappear.
That's the signal.
So you put on your shoes, pick up your keys, and then you just sit on the couch and watch television.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You do this dozens of times until the dog's limbic system stops firing at the sound of the keys.
You make the keys boring.
Exactly. Once the triggers are neutralized, you move to the door, you walk out the front door, close it, and immediately open it and walk back in before the dog even has a chance to inhale and register panic.
Wow. Before they even process it.
You leave for 2 seconds, then 5 seconds, then 30 seconds. You are proving thousands of times that the door is a revolving door, not a black hole.
And the literature is very firm on how you handle the actual moment of leaving. Because as humans, especially if we feel guilty about leaving them, we want to comfort them.
We want to soothe them.
Right. We want to get down on the floor, hug them tightly, use a high-pitched voice, and say, "Oh, my poor baby, I'm so sorry I have to go to school. Please be brave. I'll be back as soon as I can."
Which is catastrophic because remember the tuning fork?
Yeah, right.
The dog reads your micro-expressions. If you act highly emotional, anxious, and dramatic before you leave, the dog's brain interprets that as, oh, the super alpha is highly distressed about this door.
They think you're scared of the door.
They think there must be incredible danger on the other side. The situation is dire. You are validating their panic before you even leave.
So you have to be totally stoic.
Cold, calm, and utterly boring. And equally crucial, no wild, over-the-top emotional greetings when you return.
Oh, that's so hard to do.
It's very hard. But if you walk in the door and drop to your knees, cheering and hugging the dog because they didn't destroy the room, you are validating their belief that being separated was indeed a massive, traumatic event.
Like it required a celebratory survival reunion.
Exactly. You walk in, you calmly put your keys down, and you completely ignore the dog until they've stopped pacing and whining.
You must make your departures and arrivals the most uneventful, mundane moments of the dog's day.
That's the only way it works.
There was also a fascinating point in the sources about how to tire them out before you leave.
This is a huge misconception.
Right. The logical human thought is, okay, this is a wolf dog with crazy energy. Before I go to school, I will take my bicycle and make the dog sprint alongside me for 5 miles.
Because a tired dog is a good dog.
Yeah, if they are physically exhausted, they won't have the energy to destroy my door. But physical running doesn't even make a dent in this breed, does it?
Not at all. A wolf is biologically engineered to trot for 30 or 40 miles a day across a frozen tundra, tracking a herd of elk.
So a 5-mile bike ride is nothing.
A 5-mile sprint is just a warm-up for them. You cannot physically exhaust them.
But the sources revealed a hack. Nose work.
Yes, nose work is incredible.
They pointed out that just 20 minutes of intense sniffing, tracking, and searching for hidden objects in the grass exhausts a Czechoslovakian Wolfdog, far more than an hour of sprinting.
It's wild how effective it is.
Why does smelling make them more tired than running?
It comes down to cognitive load and how the canine brain is wired. The olfactory bulb in a dog's brain is proportionally massive compared to a human's.
Like way bigger.
Huge. When a dog is actively analyzing complex scents like differentiating the smell of your hidden keys from the smell of the damp soil and the squirrel that ran past an hour ago, they are performing the neurological equivalent of incredibly complex calculus.
Wow, they're doing math with their nose.
It requires immense mental focus.
So their brain is literally burning massive amounts of glucose to process the smells.
Exactly. It simulates the intense mental focus required during a wild hunt.
That makes total sense.
By making the dog use their olfactory senses to solve puzzles, you are rapidly draining their mental energy reserves.
Right.
A mentally exhausted dog is a calm dog.
The sources also mention that leaving them with items deeply saturated in your scent can help,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, like a t-shirt you've slept in for a few nights.
Oh, yeah. Because it provides a continuous, grounding, olfactory presence that helps soothe their nervous system while you are at school.
It reminds them that you exist.
Okay, so we've established that this dog is intensely, almost dangerously obsessed with its own family pack, to the point of literal physiological panic if the boundary of the pack is broken by you leaving.
Right.
But what happens when the boundary is breached from the outside?
This is where things get really interesting.
If I am the absolute center of my dog's universe, how do they process a biological entity that isn't in the pack?
Someone completely new.
Yeah. How do they treat a mail carrier dropping off a package or a stranger trying to pet them on the sidewalk?
This brings us to another profound manifestation of their wild heritage. The Czechoslovakian Wolfdog is defined in the literature as a quintessential one-master dog.
It's the stuff of legends, really.
It truly is.
Their loyalty is absolute. They will accept the entire family, right? Like they will tolerate and protect the children. They will respect the parents.
They recognize the whole pack.
But they almost always systematically select one specific person in the household to be their ultimate master, their true super alpha.
The one person above all others.
And the texts are very clear. They will literally go through fire for this one person.
It is a breathtaking level of devotion.
But that absolute, unwavering devotion to the in-group comes with a stark, severe contrast in how they view the out-group.
If we analyze the genetic wolf heritage driving this, we have to look at how wild wolves view outsiders.
Which is probably not very warmly.
No, not at all. To a pack of wolves, an unknown individual, whether it's a lone wolf wandering into their territory or a completely different species of predator, is never viewed as a friend.
They're a threat.
An outsider represents a competitor for scarce food resources, a deadly threat to the vulnerable pups, or a direct challenge to the pack's survival.
So they aren't like golden retrievers.
Definitely not.
Like a golden retriever looks at a stranger walking down the street and their brain says, oh boy, a new best friend who just hasn't pet me yet.
The wolfdog brain does not say that.
It says the exact opposite.
They're naturally wired to be highly wary, deeply reserved, and incredibly suspicious of anything or anyone outside their established pack structure.
Now, the sources are careful to point out that they do not attack without reason.
Right. They are not mindless, aggressive monsters looking to bite everyone they see.
But they maintain a strict, invisible, non-negotiable boundary of personal space.
Very strict. They want to observe strangers from a safe distance. They have zero desire to be touched by someone they do not know.
And this creates a really interesting, highly ironic problem in the modern world.
Because of how they look.
Exactly, because this dog is stunningly beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
They look like a majestic, mythical creature straight out of a fantasy movie or a nature documentary.
They really draw the eye.
The sources make this great observation about how humans react to them. Like, men are fascinated by their effortless, gliding, wolf-like movement, and women are absolutely mesmerized by their slanted, light amber eyes.
They are magnetic.
So when you walk this dog down a city street, everyone stops and stares.
Everyone wants a closer look.
Everyone wants to approach you. Everyone wants to reach their hands out, invade that invisible boundary, and pet the beautiful wolf.
But the dog absolutely despises this breach of their personal space.
It creates an exhausting, constant friction in urban environments, doesn't it?
It really does. The general public sees a beautiful dog-shaped animal and feels entirely entitled to touch it, assuming all dogs enjoy being pet.
We just assume they want love.
But the wolfdog sees an unknown, unpredictable threat encroaching on its survival space, and it feels extreme psychological discomfort.
So the owners have to constantly manage that.
Owners of this breed quickly realize they have to become full-time bodyguards for their dogs.
It's just constantly playing defense.
They have to constantly advocate for the dog space, stepping between the dog and well-meaning strangers, repeatedly saying, "Please do not reach out, do not touch my dog."
And because this bond to their pack is so absolute and their distrust of the outside world is so profound, it creates a massive, heartbreaking tragedy if a Czechoslovakian wolfdog ever has to be rehomed or given up to a shelter.
It is truly devastating.
Just heartbreaking.
For many standard breeds, changing owners is a stressful event, but they adapt relatively quickly.
A Labrador might be confused and sad for a week.
But once the new family provides a comfortable bed, affection, and food, their resilient nature allows them to bounce back and bond again.
But not the wolfdog.
For an adult Czechoslovakian wolfdog, losing their pack is a life-shattering neurological trauma.
The sources state that they literally lose their will to live.
They shut down.
They become deeply, profoundly apathetic, refusing to eat or engage with the world.
Or their brain swings wildly in the other direction.
And they become highly reactive, defensive, and completely unmanageable. The tuning fork has been shattered.
That's exactly it. Their entire biological framework for survival, hierarchy, and belonging has been erased.
So what happens to them?
It is such a severe psychological blow that there are specialized rescue stations and rehabilitation centers that exist solely to rehabilitate broken Czechoslovakian wolfdogs.
You can't just put them in a normal shelter.
You really can't. It takes months, sometimes years, of incredibly patient, specialized, quiet care to convince an adult wolfdog to trust a new human enough to slowly form a new pack bond.
Which highlights exactly why getting it right from the very beginning is so incredibly critical.
You cannot just wing it with this breed.
You really can't. And that brings us to the most vital part of a wolfdog's early life, the mechanism that determines whether they can survive in our world at all. The socialization window.
This is huge.
I like to compare this to moving to a new city as a child. Like, if your parents move you to a massive, bustling metropolis like Tokyo or New York when you were 5 years old, your brain adapts instantly.
You just absorb it all.
Right. The roaring subways are normal, the dense crowds are normal, the sirens are just background noise. You become a city kid.
It's all you know.
But if you grow up entirely on an isolated, quiet farm, and you never leave, and suddenly you move to Times Square when you are 25 years old?
It would be paralyzing.
It's total sensory overload. You would want to lock yourself in your apartment forever.
That analogy perfectly illustrates the concept of neuroplasticity. For the Czechoslovakian wolfdog, that window of adaptation is incredibly narrow, and it is rigidly biologically defined by their genetics.
So we have a deadline.
A very strict deadline. The scientific sources pinpoint this critical imprinting phase as occurring strictly between 7 and 12 weeks of age.
Wait, 7 and 12 weeks. That's just 5 weeks.
Yes.
That is a microscopic amount of time to introduce an animal to the entire human world.
It is a blink of an eye. During this tiny 5-week window, the puppy's brain is like wet cement.
It's impressionable.
It is highly receptive, ready to accept new, terrifying information and categorize it as normal, non-threatening background noise.
So you have to expose them to everything.
Everything. They must be systematically, safely, and positively exposed to absolutely everything they might encounter in their adult life.
Like what?
They need to stand near roads and watch roaring buses go by. They need to walk through crowded outdoor markets.
Okay, so loud, busy places.
They need to hear screaming children playing in a park, see bicycles zipping past, encounter people opening umbrellas, hear trains, and walk on different types of slippery or loud flooring.
And if you fail, if you get this puppy and you just keep him in your nice, quiet suburban backyard for their first 3 months of life,
the cement dries.
oh man.
And once it dries, you cannot easily reshape it. If a Czechoslovakian wolfdog is not intensely socialized during this critical imprinting window, they will be permanently, irreversibly terrified of the modern world.
So they're just stuck in panic mode.
Their baseline genetic wolf instinct, which is to fear the unknown to stay alive, will cement itself permanently into their personality.
That sounds miserable.
A poorly socialized wolf dog living in a city will exist in a constant, agonizing state of panic. They will try to bolt into traffic at every loud noise, and they will cower from every stranger.
And you can't just train that out of them later.
Unlike other breeds, You cannot simply use a few treats to train this deep-seated fear out of them later in life. They have a memory, like an elephant, for negative experiences.
So practically speaking, how do you handle it when your 9-week-old puppy does get terrified during this window because they are going to get scared?
It's inevitable.
Say you're walking down the street and a huge sanitation garbage truck pulls up, lifts a metal dumpster, and slams it down onto the pavement with a massive crash.
A very scary noise for a puppy.
The puppy jumps out of its skin, tucks its tail between its legs, flattens its ears, and is clearly terrified. The human instinct, especially if you love the dog, is to instantly scoop the puppy up, pull it to your chest, pet its head, and use a soft, soothing voice.
Oh no, it's okay, poor baby.
Yeah, I know that was super scary. I've got you.
Which, bringing it all back to how they read us, is the exact wrong response.
Really?
If you coddle and soothe a frightened wolfdog puppy, you are actively validating and confirming their fear.
Because they're looking at you to see how to react.
Exactly. The puppy's brain processes the event like this. A loud noise happened. I felt fear. I looked to my super alpha, and the super alpha is acting highly emotional, pulling me close, and acting concerned.
So they think, oh, the boss is worried, I should be worried.
Therefore, this loud garbage truck is indeed a lethal threat. I was right to be terrified, and I should be terrified of garbage trucks for the rest of my life.
Wow. The sources outline a very specific and honestly almost counterintuitive training technique for this exact moment,
The Czech literature calls it the Jasasi metoda.
which roughly translates to the cheering method, right?
Yeah. Yes, the cheering method. It is absolutely brilliant because it perfectly leverages their pack psychology and their emotional mirroring against their wild fears.
Okay, so how does it work?
When that garbage truck slams down and the puppy gets scared, the owner doesn't coddle. Instead, the owner does the exact opposite. They laugh.
Wait, they laugh.
They laugh, they cheer out loud, they bounce around happily, and treat the deafening noise like it is the most exciting, funniest thing that has ever happened on a Tuesday afternoon.
You literally point at the garbage truck and go, yay, the garbage truck. What a good noise. Good boy.
Exactly. You throw a tiny party on the sidewalk.
That's hilarious.
The puppy is startled, looks up at the pack leader to gauge how to react to the situation, and sees the super alpha laughing, relaxed, and cheering.
And their tuning fork just recalibrates.
Instantly. The puppy's tuning fork instantly recalibrates to your frequency. Their brain processes this new data instantly.
They think the leader's not afraid.
The leader's autonomic nervous system is calm and happy. The leader thinks this loud metal monster is a game. Therefore, this loud monster is not a threat to the pack.
So the dog reads your emotion, realizes there is no danger, and instantly gains confidence.
It's basically psychological judo.
You are taking the weight of their wild instincts, their reliance on your emotional state, and using it to flip their fear, helping them survive and thrive in the human world.
It's a beautiful way to train them.
Which really brings this entire deep dive full circle. We've gone on quite a psychological journey today.
We really have.
We started by looking at a dog that views you not as a casual roommate, but as the ultimate pack leader, a super alpha, whose micro-expressions and internal emotional state dictate their entire reality.
The core of their existence.
Then we explore the incredibly dark side of that intense bond, breaking down the severe, destructive physiological panic they experience when the boundary of the pack is broken by you leaving for school.
And why punishing that panic only pours gasoline on the fire.
And we finished by exploring their fierce, exclusive loyalty to their one master, their deep genetic suspicion of the outside world, and how a tiny 5-week window of neuroplasticity determines their entire ability to cope with our loud, chaotic environment.
It really is a profound, almost overwhelming responsibility to bring one of these animals into your life.
It's not a decision to make lightly.
You are taking on the mantle of a wild leader, which leaves us with a final, highly provocative thought to ponder, one directly inspired by the psychology we've explored today.
Oh, lay it on us.
If the Czechoslovakian Wolfdog acts as a perfect, unfiltered mirror to your own internal emotional state, reflecting your hidden anxieties, your stress, and your true leadership abilities, what does raising one ultimately teach you? Does it simply teach you how to train a complex animal, or does it force you every single day to confront and master your own mind?
Man, that is a wild, beautiful thought to leave on. You truly cannot lie to the wolf in your living room.
You really can't.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We highly encourage you to ponder that question as you go about the rest of your day, whether you're heading to school, to work, or just hanging out with your own pets. Until next time.